There we go. All right. So as we get started, I want to welcome you all again. It feels like we just met, which we did in November 22nd. But based on the feedback that everybody gave me from that particular first session of our roundtable, you all indicated, or the majority of people indicated, that you want to do this on a weekly, or excuse me, monthly basis. So we scheduled all of those out. If you registered for this one, you're able to register for them all the way through the rest of the year. We'll be having those on Tuesdays. I think what must be the first Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. And one of the things that we talked about was an opportunity for all of us to come together to really share some of our experiences, talk about some of our frustrations, and share some of our wins, because sometimes I think we don't spend enough time celebrating our wins. And when our families succeed, we need to have a place to go share all of those types of experiences in a room where people know what you talk about, right? We all could go home to our partners or our children and our friends and we'd be like, oh my God, this happened at work today. And they're looking at you like, okay, why don't you just say no? Or nobody should get this kind of help, or whatever feedback you get. So it's nice to be able to have a place where you have colleagues who get it, who understand the different challenges that we're going through. So part of our routine is going to be sharing our wins, sharing our frustrations, and then doing a group share of the resources that we have learned about, that are new or maybe underused. And so I hope that we have a lot of engagement as we go through this. This is a place for you to talk, not to listen to me talk. And Lindsay, I'm going to ask you a favor, please, if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on the chat for me, and then keeping a list of the people as they enter in. I've got a good start right now. But I want to make sure that I account for everybody on that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to pick on Ryan just a little bit. And one of the reasons why I like to pick on Ryan is because he is a lot of fun, but he also is very accustomed to the style of reflective supervision that I'm hoping to obtain here. And one of those things is really having, again, like I said, a safe place for you to talk about the things that are important to us. So Ryan, I'm going to have you unmute yourself really quick.
I even turned my video on.
You did? Oh, there you are. Look at you. You are literally just down the hallway from me. It's so nice to have you here. Ryan, one of the things that I find so important is to really celebrate the things that happen right in case management, because sometimes we have full weeks where nothing seems to go right. And I'd like to see if you could share with us some of your experience in the last month or so that you want to celebrate and share with the rest of the team.
So just a quick story. Met a family in September. They were behind on rent about 5 months. Utility bills about 5 months. Was able to get them on, set them up through ERAP, the 4-letter word that we don't like anymore. But we got, you guys all know that it took about 45 days for things to happen, and a few weeks after we sent that in, their power got shut off. Neither one of them were working. Worked with ERAP and MDU to get their power back on. Just been continuing to work with them and just encouraging them. Just met with her yesterday, and this is where it's a win. He recently started a job at a dealership doing mechanic work. He's loving it. He's having so much fun. They're already talking about possibly some promotions. He's going to get full benefits. I asked about vehicles and how their transportation is. Both their vehicles, he's done some work on to keep them alive until they could figure out things. And this dealership's already talking to him about, hey, we can work together with you to get some new vehicles. Like, there's just a number of different things that are all just coming together. They have a child that had some trauma that happened and just recently got into uh, a counseling situation that was healthy for him and has been very good. And so there's just a lot of different things that she sat across the table from me today, yesterday, and just said things finally feel like they're falling into place. She's been door dashing so that she has flexibility to be able to help her son get to appointments. We have a new place in town called One Health that is gonna. She's getting dentures. He's got an appointment in January to get his teeth fixed. And so 4 years ago, they were dealing with drug and alcohol addictions, and now they've been sober for about a year, and just a lot of different things have just fallen into place. So it's been very encouraging to work with them and to have them take steps in making this happen, not just me doing it all. So you're muted, Susan.
That's awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much for sharing those stories. It's not very often that we get to share those kinds of stories. I want to remind those of you that have been through the Roma training or the introduction to Roma is one of the things that he's talking about is being able to follow up long term with agency or with families who are able to, we're able to show movement, right? So we have our defined benchmarks of different domains. Ryan, how many, and I just remind me really quick, how many domains does your agency use that they keep pretty close track of?
We have 17 different benchmarks that we look
Okay.
at.
And then is that on your primary assessment of 17 of those?
No, our primary is 3.
Okay. And for those of you, again, who haven't been exposed to those benchmarks, it's really a great way to be able to look at the different levels of prevention. And what, like Ryan said, when they first started working, they were at risk of eviction, they had lost their power. But through those benchmarks, he was able to look at different domains and be able to show forward progress. And that's what CSBG and Community Action ask us to do on a regular basis. So being able to reflect on those stories are a great reminder of how important it is to follow up with our families to see what's changing. And that's the difference between our emergency stabilization and our case management programs, because emergency stabilization, while super important still, right? We know that there are just going to be families who need that emergency rental payment or that emergency utility payment to get them back on before they can start even thinking about being able to go back to work. So Ryan, on that particular one, it's really easy for us to be able to show referrals and resources, and they were the ones that followed up. And that's a great reminder of, at the end of the day, families and individuals are the ones that still have to be the ones doing the hard work. Where would you say, Ryan, they felt their confidence? Do you think that how they would describe their confidence level in moving forward and their ability to feel hope again?
Well, talking with her yesterday, she reflected on joy. That wouldn't have happened even 3-4 months ago. And so when there's joy, and there's a sense of there's light at the end of the tunnel. I see that as huge wins for them. And you guys work with clients, they don't see anything but what's right in front of them. And so it's one thing to see far out and see, man, down the road, we're going to be able to make our rent. We're going to be able to make our MDU. We're going to be able to make all these different things. And they've used some resources and whatnot that we've offered to them, but I think in a couple months we won't see them very often anymore.
That's awesome. Well, on that frame, I wanted to have you share some of your frustration that might have been there with you too. And I think one that you mentioned is a huge frustration that I had when I was doing case management was the lack of dental resources. What were some of the other frustrations that you've experienced in the last month that maybe you could ask for, that you wanted to reflect on?
One of the things that I've been And my role here at Compass is a coach. And so just to give you kind of a framework of what that looks like is we have resources, we have stabilization, we have case management, and then we have coaching. And so I'm at the bottom of this filter that we've created. And once one of my biggest frustrations and what I'm trying to figure out is when you're working with resources and when you're working with stabilization, they come to you. They need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. So they're constantly calling, leaving messages, emailing, contacting you. Where when you get them past where they're at least a little bit stable or where they're functioning, they don't need it anymore. And so one of my biggest frustrations was I'm reaching out to them saying, you still need to come in. You still need to come in, and trying to communicate the importance of that next step. Even though they feel like they can breathe right now, there needs to be more steps involved. And so that's been one of my biggest frustrations is helping them. And it's not necessarily frustration, it's more of a hurdle or a barrier that they need to realize there's more to it than just being able to breathe. And it's a process for them to accept that there's more to it. And so then I'm reaching out to them, and then I'm setting up appointments, and then they don't show up because there's no crisis that needs to be handled at that moment. So the sense of urgency isn't there for them to come in and continue in not just case management, but this coaching piece that we want to take them even further. So.
And we talk about that coaching as the next step, as you talk about all the time, you're stable. Now, what can we do to improve? How do we make you self-sufficient long-term in that permanency? And that can be a huge challenge. Does anybody else, I want to give you guys an opportunity for anybody who wants to comment on what Ryan's had to say, either in their own experience or maybe some advice in how to continue on that coaching path when the crisis isn't right in front of them anymore.
Don't be shy. Any help is good help.
One of the things we've kind of been able to do is like try to give them a carrot. So, hey, if we'll pay their car insurance for 6 months. So we can say, hey, we'll pay this car insurance, but you have to come meet with us to get that payment or whatever that service is that you're able to offer. Especially with ERAP, we've had a lot of other assistants out there. So that has like that little carrot oftentimes is enough to bring them in, which isn't always like doable, obviously. So we've been trying to kind of get more creative on what those carrots look like, I guess, to keep them coming. And so we're actually in the process of trying to get some like giveaways from the community. And so that hasn't actually helped us yet. That was actually one of the frustrations I was going to bring up, but of how to utilize that more. But we're trying to utilize our community, like not resources, but our is there a little shop in town or something that, hey, would you donate this so we could do a giveaway? And if you come so many times to your coaching, you could win this cookware set or something like that. So we're kind of trying to work on that right now too. And I wouldn't say we're at a good spot yet, but it's kind of helped get more people in the door.
I will say in that assistance right there, CSBG funding can be used for some incentive type work. It's a little bit harder to do, but you know what funding stream, TANF CPI funding, community, or I can't remember, the TANF one that doesn't come from DFS, but the TANF funding has participant incentive funding specifically. And so if you have classes that you're doing where you're like, hey, we're going to have a 6-week parenting class, and if you attend all 6 of them, your name can go into a drawing for a $100 gift certificate, or like you said, a cookware set or something like that. or every time you attend, here's a $5 coffee card or something. So any of your agencies that are receiving TANF funding, participant incentives is a line item that is an allowable cost under TANF. And that would be something that we would have to look at under CSBG funding to see how that would fit in there. It's possible, but we just want to make sure that it kind of fits in there. But I do know for sure that TANF, you are allowed to do that on TANF. Daphne, along with your incentives that your agency is looking at bringing people in to continue to keep them coming in to do the work, because we know there's a lot of cognitive work that needs to do as we have people move out of poverty. You had told me a couple of weeks ago about a program that you guys were starting up around lunches, lunch and learns. And Ryan is in the middle of starting up some parenting groups or some support groups. Could either one of you guys talk about what that looked like? And Daphne, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that was one of my frustrations I was going to bring up was our learning over lunch. We have several classes. I think I gave all my flyers away, but our first class was insurance because it was open enrollment. The next class we just did was workforce services, came and taught us about resume building and interview skills. Blue Federal Credit Union has a great program, and so they are going to come teach us about like budgeting and basics of banking. We're going to learn about cleaning your credit up. We're going to have a basic car maintenance class. I'm trying to think what other, there's more. So we're providing lunch during that time. We've asked everyone that's teaching one of the classes to bring something for a giveaway. Whether that's their own like promotional items or a gift card or something. And then we've asked them if they want to sponsor lunch, they can, but we've got it in our budget. And then we're hoping to do like a major giveaway at the final class, which will actually be about home ownership. So we're not actually the ones teaching the classes. We're having community partners teach those classes. So we can just not only educate the public, but also get them to make those connections in the community. We thought lunch and a $15, giveaway would be enough to draw people in. We were hoping for 30 people. Our last class had one person. So, which was frustrating because our first class had 3. And we were hoping it'd get bigger, and it didn't. So we actually just disseminated like flyers to like our local community group 211, like community partners in Cheyenne that we have to hey, can you share some of these with your clients as well? It's at the library. We're offering transportation. I mean, really, we've got everything you need: lunch, transportation, and a giveaway. And so it is frustrating because it's like feeding into that like burnout I'm having of like, no one actually wants help, like, and I'm like, take it down a notch, Daphne. It's okay. Like, it's winter time, it's cold, like it'll get off the ground. We started this right before COVID, and the classes were very successful. I think at max they had 30 people, which is kind of where we were hoping where we got that 30 number from. So yeah, that's where we're sitting at.
Does anybody else have any thoughts about the difficulty in getting people to attend these extra sessions? I mean, this is not unheard of. This is an extremely common thing, because as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe there's transportation issues. Oh, no, they handled that. Maybe there's childcare issues. Oh, well, no, maybe they handled that. It is really difficult. I will tell you, I was talking to a pastor at one of our soup kitchens, and they're like, nobody's showing up for lunch anymore. We used to have all these people that showed up for lunch, and now they're not even showing up for lunch anymore. What's going on? And there is this perception by some who maybe aren't in as deep into this work as we are, that it's like, oh, people must be doing really well. Things are going great. And we all know that's not the case at all. I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk really quick. Any suggestions for Daphne? Because Ryan, you're going to hit the same thing. No thoughts. This is a tough one, and I don't know really how to help you address that. Let's brainstorm on some things, and we can address this next time too. It's like, because this is going to be an ongoing issue for a lot of us. And I think I have to agree with you, Daphne, when we talk about the frustration of the burnout. I know that I've talked to case managers, or like the no call, no shows, the getting prepped and ready to go, calling clients and their phone voicemail is full and you can't leave messages, or it's not set up, or being able to reach out is really, really frustrating. So I think I'm going to put that in the list of things to talk about next month, are ways that we can better engage our clients to improve their engagement. And maybe I can find some resources that might be able to help. On that note though, Daphne, what about some successes? What are something that you want to celebrate right now?
Well, the learning over lunch, we have there's great feedback from the community, and it's every poster I send out, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, like this is such a need. Or it's, yes, I would love to teach a class when, like there hasn't been any person that I've asked for help that hasn't given it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it definitely is, that part is awesome. Like, it was not a problem for me to get a space to meet. It was not a problem for me to get people to do the classes and teach, to even offer giveaways. Most of them are, yeah, I've got a perfect idea for that, or we're allowed to spend this much. I'll bring that in a gift card form or whatever. Like, every single person has been so excited about it. And when I passed it out to the partners, like, they were like, yes, we need this. Like, let's do it. So that part has been encouraging. And I'm hoping it's just, it's at the library, so it's downtown, it's central, it's on the bus route. We're offering rides as well. No one's mentioned childcare yet. We're kind of hoping, since it's during the daytime, like school and everything kind of covers that portion. But I'm hoping it's just, it's been freakishly cold both days we've had our class. And it's like, hopefully we'll come around and people will, I think especially when ERAP ends, we're going to need something for the community to fall back on. And hopefully this is it. And so far all the feedback's been really good. So that's keeping me moving forward.
If I may, I'm really fascinated by the idea that you're doing this at the local library. I wonder if people haven't talked about the childcare issue. I bet the library's children's section would be delighted to do a reading program for littles, your preschool ages, while their parents take a lunch class. That might be something that you might be able to partner. It's like, hey, because our local food group who delivers food to families on the weekend have library lunches. And it is free lunch to anybody. You don't have to income qualify. You don't have to do anything, but it is an opportunity for kids to learn about the library while their parents are participating in that learning opportunity for their children. But in your case, it might be, hey, parents, here's an opportunity for you to dump your kids off at the library really quick
Right.
while feed them lunch, you lunch, and you get to learn something too. That might be something that you could partner with your library on, something like that too.
I love the idea of that. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, because our preschool kids, those are the ones that are a little bit tougher. When we have our 5 and unders, it's hard sometimes. And like you said, the weather is going to be a huge barrier. I don't want to take my 6-month out in the cold if I don't have to, even if it means for food. But that might be something that you could possibly think about. And then also looking at shoulder seasons. Maybe December, January, February is not when lunch and learns start. Maybe it's when the weather gets a little bit more tolerable in Wyoming and people could walk if necessary.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts out there?
Very complex issue for certain. And, you know, when I think of my clientele and I think of the incentives and I think about educating, as a former public school teacher, I definitely think about how much of the clientele and the students I saw correlated to poverty and the overall narrative that education is not something of value. And so finding people who are intrinsically motivated to come receive that education and that food and the resources they need can be difficult. And so one of the, I guess my main point is meeting people where they're at, right? I may not believe in your program. I may not believe in your 30-minute educational seminar that you're going to give me, but I may need that food. I may need that knowledge. And that's one of the other components with education. A friend of mine, a great mentor from the University of Arkansas, had informed me that you could be the most educated person in the world, but you're a fool if you can't use it, right? So where are the places that the education we're giving people or helping them with, where are they able to apply it and who's helping them apply it? And really, you know, statistical data shows that something like 4 to 1 ratio of positive reinforcements to negative reinforcements. Are we taking those into where we're meeting people at? So are we looking at our organizations and the plights that we need to overcome as looking for those 4 positives to 1 negative? Yeah, somebody's mailbox is full and that sucks, but that's where that person's at in life, right? So I do have a phone number and I did get through to them. I just didn't get to talk to them. So what are we getting excited about and what are we living off of? And how are we combating that in our programs and lives? Because the energy and atmosphere breeds safety and security for people to be at. And if we're carrying that through our organizations and doing that from top down, you know, we're all human, we're going to have off days, but really focusing on those wins more than we focus on the issues we see in our clients and looking for ways to solve the issues we see in our community and keeping it at that, because our clients are going to be where they're at and we can't control the decisions they make. We can't control the weather outside. We can't control whether they get on transportation. We can't control so many different things, but if you breed an atmosphere where people feel warm, welcome, respected, and they're getting that 4 to 1 ratio, you have a higher chance of them taking that knowledge and being able to utilize it in our community when we put those things in place.
Doug, I love what you're saying because I'm hearing 2 things that are really important to community action in CSBG. One of them is agency capacity building, right? This
Yeah.
ability for us to be able to build our knowledge, our ability to have a gratitude attitude, for us to be solution focused. It's real easy for us to build a culture where we're focusing on this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, instead of saying, this did work, let's do more of this, or what you're talking about. But you also are talking about community initiatives. And I think, when we're talking about lunch and learns, because I am a huge fan of lunch and learns, but now I'm thinking, oh, but isn't that a community initiative? Isn't this where we need to build a culture in our community where kindergarten readiness is critically important, that our dental is critically important, building these community initiatives to look at the bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish, to be able to then get people to be more comfortable. And I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. At Compass Center for Families, we started a parent enrichment, parent education program. We couldn't get anybody to show up. There was stigma around parent education programs, right? It's like only those are for those families, or you're a bad parent if you have to take a parent education class. And it wasn't until we had started our parent liaison program, completely unrelated program, but we started providing, in partnership with our school districts and our business community, master social level workers in the school to build engagement at the school. Their job was to address attendance issues and to build relationships with parents. Through that process, they started building a community initiative that said attendance is really critically important, and the partners and parents need to act together on the same team in the interest of children. Because never did I hear a parent ever say, I cannot wait for my kid to drop out of school. No parent said that to us. So we built this program, and over time, there became this trust in the school district that they were on the lookout for, or looking out for the best interests of their children, that there was a safe place where people could go to get help with children's behavioral issues or education purposes. And pretty soon we started having people, because we started hosting our parent enrichment classes, Love and Logic, at the schools. And all parents were coming. We had to, I'm going to be honest with you, we packed some of those classes with particular families that were super high functioning and didn't need assistance, to really reduce that stigma that only those parents need parent education classes. And so we put in educational terms, called them pacers, basically. We put pacers in those classes, and we started building these parent ed classes, not through Compass Center for Families, but at the schools. And we broke down these preconceived barriers or deterrents for people, the word, I'm just blanking on what I'm looking for. But now our parent education classes are always full. We run like 12 a year. There's one every month. You can jump them in. You jump in virtually, you jump in person, you do all these different things. But it was like 5 years of building a community and changing a community culture. And so those are ideas, and CSBG and Community Action loves to talk about community initiatives. What can we do to address that system-wide or community-wide? It's not helping just one individual person, but really building a culture. And I kind of went off tangent there, but I just wanted to draw out that what Doug was talking about is just as important to build agency capacity as it is to give out $50 gift cards or gas cards. And so be thinking about that. I don't know if any of that was helpful, Daphne and Ryan, because as you guys try to get people to attend these classes, I think maybe your carrot idea, Daphne, is what, it's like, oh yeah, I'll be happy to give you a $50 gas card or pay for your insurance. You have to pick it up at lunch. pick up the card at lunch, or I'll be meeting you at the library and I'll have all your paperwork ready to go. Things like that. That's that carrot aspect, but then also thinking about how do we start talking about and addressing the culture in our community. Heather?
Yeah, I was just going to say that sometimes it's easier to go where they already are. And so look at your communities and what are some education trainings already going on. Head Starts generally have a parent meeting every month. And so use that as a training opportunity to go and meet those clients who are often the same clients that you may be seeing in your organization as well, and use that as an education opportunity, or partner with Head Start to kind of beef up what they're already doing, or look at events in the community where you can go where the people already are. It's much easier than trying to create an audience if you can just tag into an audience.
That's really important because, and here's an important income eligibility piece of CSBG. You partner with Head Start, they're automatically eligible for income verification. They've already done it. That's your sister agency, right? They're already income qualified. So for services that you share with Head Start, you don't have to do income verification for everybody who attends that, which is one of our barriers sometimes to doing community work, is we have to but then I have to get an intake and I have to get income verification. Not if they're already qualified. Same is true with WIC. You have WIC parents. Hey, WIC parents, we'd love to have you join us here. SNAP parents, we're free and reduced lunches. They're already income qualified. That's guidance that OCS gave us last year when we were talking about CARES money spend down. So the feds are like, yeah, if you're partnering with somebody who's already income qualified, boom, there's your income qualification. So there are, things that we have to think about when we're doing that and using CSBG funding to do that, but there are. Those are some good questions. We're going to talk about client engagement and how to increase their engagement next time. So is there anybody else in the group while you guys who would like to share a celebration with us? And while you guys are deciding what you want to share, Lindsay, is there anything in the chat that we need to address?
Well, I think that Sharon's question was partially answered, and I know we're going to talk about SNAP later, but just in case anyone has other ideas on if clients need gloves, coats, phones, etc., what funding streams might be available and what success people have had with those.
Thank you. So yeah, coat drives, mitten drives, who in your community are already doing those? In my community, there is a local bank that partners with Martinizing Dry Cleaning, and they do a coat drive at the beginning of the winter. Tap into your communities that are already doing that. I know I talked to Cassie. I think actually Cassie's on the line right now. Cassie, you are doing a coat drive surrounded around your point in time count. Is there anything that you want to add on that one?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So with the coat drive, I have went to the local banks. I went to our Elks and our Eagles foundations here in Worland, and just around to the community, just explaining that we need coats. I also posted on Upcycle, and I don't know if everybody has Upcycle in their community, but that was a huge turnout. I went to the realtors as well, and the realtors bought a bunch of coats and scarves. They actually just came in about 30 minutes ago and dropped off some more scarves and winter mittens and things. So my plan is to give them out at the point of time on January 25th.
Thank you for sharing that. Sharon, I don't know. So for clients that are needing coats, gloves, and phones, we have done individual drives. We had pint night at one of our local breweries, and then for every pint that was ordered, that brewery donated $1, and then people could donate. We had a table set up, and we spent all of that on a coat drive. So we had some additional unrestricted funding that we were able to buy snow pants, gloves, hats, mittens. Another really good resource for mittens, scarves, and hats is finding your local sewing club or your local fabric arts club. If there's a knitting club, a quilting club, any of those, we've got a lot of people in our communities that love to knit, but literally we're like, I cannot give away any more scarves to my friends and neighbors, and would love to be able to do something like that. And that's reaching out on Facebook. Remember, we're not using Facebook for our youth because our youth don't use Facebook, but our 40 and plus older people love Facebook, love our upcycles. And I bet you could get some local knitting groups that would be delighted to knit hats, mittens, and gloves for clients. And then the coat drive, having a faith-based partner or a bank or real estate agent, like Cassie said, to donate money. One of our big ones is Rotary. Rotary is one of our biggest partners. They take up big drives every year and help us a lot when we're looking for helping people over the holidays. Any other ideas that people have for Sharon on coat drives and how we can collect those for our families? She mentioned phones in the chat. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But any other ones? Heather.
I was thinking, I think you might have mentioned faith-based, but another group is the Key Club. So your high school honor society or Key Club, they're always looking for projects. And what a great way for parents just to bring in the coats to donate at the school. And then also they're lost and found that they already have sitting there and waiting.
Lost and Found is shocking to me. I could not believe what I saw in Lost and Found. Yeah, school partners, can we donate those? Working with your local cleaning laundry center or dry cleaner, can we get these cleaned so we can get those out? Here is a logistical problem. Most of us do not have enough place to store these, right? So where are we going to put all of these once we gather them? CSBG funding can be used for a rental storage. You could have rental. And if you need someone to help you organize and put them away, go to your local juvenile justice office. There are a ton of kids who are looking at ways to being able to fulfill their community service. And a lot of times having them organize and hang up coats or any of boots, any of that type of stuff is a great opportunity for you to get volunteer help in your agency to organize that. So that's just a thought that you might want to do. Any other thoughts around coat drives around wintertime?
One of the, go ahead, Doug. One of the things that I know happens over in Lander and Riverton is talking about things like storage, tapping into the local Elks, Masonic temples, things of that nature that used to be things that were really big in the heyday, but now have an excess amount of room and space within their buildings if they typically have them, and utilizing the courts or the court systems for that volunteer help as well as the elderly. One of the other unique things that I saw was local grocery stores, and would get inventory, hats, coats, things of that nature, would get inventory in at cost and put it out for cost with, basically they would help collect. So you could either bring it in or you could buy it right there up front at the store. As you walk in, the basket was there for coats to be put in or gloves or hats to be put in, as well as a rack to purchase them, a little bit separated from it. So you can just grab it and throw it in. But you could purchase it at a discounted rate essentially to help out. And it was something that was very large help, especially in the glove area. Where people could come spend $2 on a $15 pair of gloves and purchase them and then throw them in on their way out. And in small communities like Lander and Riverton, you get a lot of traffic through those two local grocery stores.
You know, we saw a lot in our local grocery stores when the food pantries would have their drives, and they would give you a list of 3 items, which was really nice because I never knew what to buy. And they'd be like, here's a list that we need. Would you be willing to get these 3 things? And the same could be done for, you know, would you consider a pair of boots in a size 9 or a pair of, and that kind of helps you manage that inventory as well, where you're short is giving them the very specifics of what to buy. Sharon, you were going to say something.
That's really great. And thank you everybody for your input. Recently our food pantry has done all that and now they can no longer do it. So I find myself in the thick of it with the people saying, well, I can't get this anymore. And honestly, I've just gone to my house and got my stuff and handed it out. And I said, well, this isn't self-sufficient, right? So I appreciate everybody's thoughts and these are really good.
And Sharon, you guys may not have the agency, the capacity to do that. And that's where I would look at maybe requesting some assistance from your Rotary, from your key clubs, from your JCs, Boy Scout clubs, anybody who's looking for an Eagle Scout project, Girl Scout, that it's like, hey, our food pantry can't do this anymore. Another one that's really good are your beta groups. When you have some your women's groups or your PEO groups are always looking for projects, especially PEO. If you know anybody who's in PEO, their mission is young women's education, right? So if they're interested in a project, we can say, hey, we're looking for business clothes to go interview in, and that could be something that they would put together. In Sturgis, where I grew up in Deadwood, and just this little town outside, maybe you've heard of it, Sturgis, has a place called My Sister's Closet, which was a place where women could go. It was run by the DVSA in that community, but it was a store, set up like a store where you could go in and shop as necessary. So for what you needed, and a lot of times those women's groups like PEO want to support the professionalism of young women moving forward. So that's always a resource as well. Any other ideas?
Ryan put something in the chat. You said, I've built a relationship with the GM at our local Walmart, and at the end of the season, they want stuff out of their building. So he donates a lot to local nonprofits throughout the whole year.
For those of you that have a Walmart store, your local store has a lot of money to donate, and there is the grant application fund. We just received $5,000 from them just 2 years ago to go and completely replenish the school supplies. And what I would love to do, and they don't do it this way, and it's like, just give me $10,000 worth of school supplies, but they don't do it that way. But those are some great resources as well. All right, you guys, we're moving quickly throughout this. I wanted to give anybody else an opportunity to share a celebration with us. No celebrations? Come on. I'll call on you.
Taylor has one.
Who has one?
Taylor has one.
Taylor has one? Do it, Taylor.
If we're calling on people.
Let's do it. Taylor, rip it out.
Daphne, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Who did you just house this week?
Oh, I have a client who's been living in a garage since June with her adult disabled son, and they got housed yesterday, moved in yesterday.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. It is so hard. We have a family, Ryan was working with them, had a family, I guess it was in Johnson County, had a family that is looking for disabled ADA compliant housing. We can't find anything. Absolutely cannot find a thing. So permanent supportive housing is something that we're identifying as a huge need. So Taylor, that is wonderful news. Any other celebrations that you guys want to share? How about some frustrations? Is anybody like, I'm about ready to quit my job? Who's there? Raise your hand. Okay, well, according to the agenda, we're going to go on to shared resources. We kind of talked about some of those resources. There is one that I want to share with you guys, and we're all kind of aware of the broadband connectivity program. However, recently, I was just given notice that Wyoming and Utah are two of the states with the least amount of people signing up for this program. So I wanted to show you something really quick. Can you guys see that benefit slide that I just brought up? Okay, so the Affordable Connectivity Program, there are going to be some outreach grants that Wyoming is going to be applying for to help with application assistance for those individuals going who need assistance in broadband. It has been identified federally that broadband is necessary for job application, schooling, being able to communicate, transportation, everything. And so the Affordable Connectivity Program has some limitations, but I want to make sure that you guys are really fully sending your clients to this program in the state of Wyoming. Now, the slide deck that I'm showing you is from Utah, so ignore that, but the materials are still the same. They can apply for this benefit, which includes $30 a month to help pay for broadband service, but also can help them pay for unlimited phone plans, because we know that our cell coverage in Wyoming is better than some of our broadband coverage. That's a big barrier in Wyoming. 25% of the residents living in Wyoming do not have access to consistent, strong broadband. So this service allows those families who do have cell service to be able to use their unlimited data plan to be used as a hotspot instead of a broadband. $75 a month for households on tribal lands, and $100 that they can use to purchase a tablet, a laptop, or a desktop computer for this service. This can be used for phones as well. So Sharon, those individuals who are looking at phones can do this. What do we want to do for that? Here's how you eligible. See this list? You only need to be qualified one time, right? So if you qualify for one thing on this list, you are eligible for the broadband category. So if any of our clients at 200% or lower the federal poverty level, if they're already on free and reduced school lunches, SNAP, Medicaid, WIC, any of the federal housing programs, and participate in any of the assistant programs or lives on a qualifying tribal land, those individuals are automatically eligible for this program. I'm going to leave that up there just a little bit so you guys can see that. But what they have to do is a two-step process. This is where the barrier is coming from, okay? They have to submit an application at affordableconnectivity.com, or you can print them an application and mail that in. But step two is once they get their application done, they have to contact your participating provider to select a plan and get that assigned to their bill. All right, so some providers are asking for an additional application. As Taylor said, the application is very, very easy, but where the disconnect is coming is step two. They are you need to help them find the provider in their area. That can be Cricket, can be Verizon, can be AT&T, Spectrum, Range are areas that are all on there. So one of the things that I wanted to show you on here is your application enrollment assistance at getacp.org. To learn more about the Connect Wyoming program, there's links here. And if you go to the top of the chat, there's a link to this agenda. So you can bring that link or bring that agenda up and you have access to all of the links here. The connectivity program in Wyoming, I'm meeting with the lead person on Thursday to find out more how we can do funding. Thank you, Kara. How we can do some pass-through grants for agencies to be paid for application assistance and what that's looking like. Wyoming is looking at a $500,000 grant to be able to help you guys support the case management needed to help people get signed up for this. The Connect Wyoming is really focused on finding out where the connectivity is dropping. So we haven't moved into a whole lot of state assistance on the application. So Taylor, thank you. A lot of you guys are using this, but we're underconnected right now. We are missing a lot of people who are not taking advantage of this particular program. So please put this on your list of things that we can do to help your clients connect better for the things that they need.
Also,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, any of your clients that use Charter Spectrum and possibly Verizon, it is a one-step process that those companies have incorporated into their systems. I know that I utilize that through Charter Spectrum, and I believe Verizon does it, but Verizon didn't have wireless. Verizon couldn't do it with my cell service for some reason.
Right.
But I know that it was a one-step process with Charter Spectrum.
Thank you, Doug. That is really important to know. And again, a lot of our clients, these are like some of our intake questions, right? It's like, do you have regular access to email? Do you have regular access to texting? When you hear those answers, no, okay, your brain should be triggering. Let's get them signed up for the connectivity program. Same as if they don't have insurance. We have to ask them in our intake, right? Are you insured? What type of insurance do you have? It is enrollment period right now. That should be an automatic trigger in your brain that we need to get them hooked up to a navigator at Enrollment Wyoming to help them out. Social Security Services, they added their new newsletter link is right there. This is a great resource for those individuals who are looking for SSDI, death benefits, how to get signed up. Those are some really good resources there. The pit count in Wyoming. I need help. I need some volunteers in the following counties: Bighorn, Converse, Hot Springs, Johnson, Lincoln, Platte, Sublette, Teton, and Uinta, who would be willing to point me in the right direction of somebody who would be willing to be a lead in that county to help organize our unsheltered point in time count for HUD. We know this count is difficult. It is challenging. It requires a lot of volunteers to do this, but we also want to be able to make sure that we're getting more accurate counts of our unsheltered homeless in the state of Wyoming. If you are from one of these counties and you know somebody who would be willing to be a county lead, please reach out to me. We're going to be talking about compassion fatigue a little bit more later, but I did put in a link to the WebMD's resources around compassion fatigue. There's some really great information in here. And look, at the end of the day, we all know we have to do self-care. We also all know that we're not doing our self-care. Bye-bye, Daphne. We're not doing our self-care. So let's, talk about ways that we can, thank you, Sharon. Let's talk about some ways in the future of how we'll be able to work on incorporating self-care and boundaries into our everyday work. Other items, if you could, please, I'm going to put this link in the chat really quick. If you could please go to the link that I just put in the chat and give some feedback on this particular session, and also some ideas of things that you want to talk about. I will also be emailing out the agenda and all the links that are on that, as well as the recording to this video. It'll go onto our YouTube page. We still have LEAP deadline hasn't been met yet. It's never too late to do free and reduced school lunches for those individuals who could use some help there. Anything else? Oh, there is one thing I am missing. I have to go back up and ask you guys this. So as part of my job at CSNO is I help with the continuum of care, or the COC, for the state of Wyoming. And there are a lot of talk about our homelessness issues that we're going to have once ERAP goes away. There is some talk about adding ERAP questions into the HMIS database for finding out if the loss of ERAP was one of the reasons why they are currently homeless. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions about ERAP going away and how we may track some of that data, whether it be through like qualitative or even quantitative data about the loss of ERAP and how that was affecting housing in Wyoming? For those of you that are using HMIS, you know it's a huge long form and we don't want to add a lot more questions to it, but we think that this is really important information, and I wanted to hear from anybody if they have some really strong thoughts about that. Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead. I think we should too, Tanya. We can talk about that a little bit later. I'll send out part of this as the follow-up for the meeting. But for now, unless there are any last minute comments or anything else that you guys want to talk about, I urge you please again to take the survey. Let us know what your evaluation is, how we're doing, what you would like case management peer-to-peer roundtables look like, and if this is helpful. So that link is in the chat, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. Never hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or need support or guidance on anything case management. We're here for you. Thank you all, and you guys have a great day.